It's a very busy day, but let's keep with our DACA Day activities with the one and only Ann Coulter. Of course, she, the author of the book that I think started it all with the Trump campaign. That would be, oh my God, Ann, the name of your book.
Adios, America.
Adios, America. I'm sorry. I wanted to say E Pluribus Awesome because that was your latest book, but Adios, America slipped my mind. You know how it is when you get a day off, Ann.
Yes. Well, I need the president to read the book about him to remind him why he was so awesome.
So to that end, I want to get to your reaction to the tax reform speech the other day because I thought that was amazing to read on your Twitter feed. But let's talk about DACA for a moment. They're signaling now that they have an imminent decision here. During a quick gaggle with the press, the president said this when asked about DACA.
Sometime today or over the weekend.
Sometime today or over the weekend. But then when asked, should Dreamers be concerned, he said this.
We love the Dreamers. We love everybody. Thank you very much.
Ann?
Oh, I'm not really worried about that puffery. That's just Trump says that about everyone. He loves everyone. He has lots of love in his heart.
So
Larry.
you think he's in the right place here?
But as for what he does, I'm a little upset. Obama's unconstitutional quote executive amnesty wasn't overturned on just stopped by the president on January 21st. It's been 7 months now. This doesn't take anything. Just stop doing something unconstitutional the prior administration was doing. Unconstitutional as, if you follow my Twitter feed, as said by Paul Ryan repeatedly on Hannity. I just tweeted it to Hannity saying he ought to replay that clip tonight. Blatantly unconstitutional. Obama himself said he couldn't do it, that it was he knows it's unconstitutional. Remember when the Dreamers were harassing him? The Dreamers being illegal aliens. None of whom Americans would like to keep here. I keep looking for the, baby seal dreamers. Who are the ones, the media, the New York Times, MSNBC is going to present to me where a majority of Americans are going to say, no, don't deport that one. And I haven't seen one yet. So we just hear about them in the abstract. Oh, the Dreamers. They're illegal aliens is what they are. Congress, as you will recall, Marco Rubio tried to give them all amnesty, which turned out fabulously well for him, got blown away in the Republican primary by a crazy developer from New York because of his position on amnesty, of course had to back down himself and claim, no, he repudiated his own amnesty bill. It went over to the House. The House didn't even bring it up for a vote because at that point the American people had gotten wind of this and shut down the congressional switchboards. So Congress considered granting amnesty to the Dreamers, rejected it, and the Dreamers started harassing President Obama. Well, just give it to us anyway. We keep hearing about how we were going to have fascism under President Trump. This is fascism. You will remember from when you were 4 years old, watching little cartoons on Saturday mornings, how a bill becomes law. It passes the House, it passes the Senate, it goes to the President, he puts his signature on it, and it's a law. The President does not have unilateral authority to pass laws, to enact laws. This is not a law. It is unconstitutional. Everyone knows it's unconstitutional. Everyone is on record saying it's unconstitutional. Courts have already begun to find it's unconstitutional. All the president has to do, the current president, the Emperor God Trump, all he ever had to do is stop doing something unconstitutional. And yet he has not. Now you have all of these traitorous Republicans, as they always do. This has been going on for more than a decade now. When they need our votes, Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and the rest of them, they all swear up and down, we're against amnesty. If you want to stop amnesty, you vote Republican. So, the voters did. We gave them majorities in 2014 in the House and the Senate. Took out Paul Ryan, or rather Eric Cantor, for supporting amnesty. Some college professor outspent by, about 10-1, won an enormous victory in an historic event, taking out a member of the Republican leadership in the House. That was Dave Bratt, you'll recall. Mm-hmm. And so whenever they need our votes, Republicans swear they're against amnesty. Don't worry, you give us a majority. We're going to block any executive amnesty Obama tries to get away with.
Yeah.
They got their majorities. They did nothing. Donald Trump, 2 years later, sweeps away this utterly implausible candidate, this developer from New York. I mean, we've all been made very familiar with his flaws, with his personal baggage, and the American people said, we don't care. Immigration is the number one issue. It has been shown to be the number one issue over and over and over again among Republicans, among independents, pretty close to it among Democrats. It's about the third most important issue. What do voters have to do? We have put this utterly implausible reality TV star in the White House in order to get our way on immigration, and even he won't do it, Larry.
I know. And by the way, you mentioned the Republicans in Congress. Paul Ryan, Orrin Hatch today, grandstanding, thumping their chest, saying, I don't think the president should do anything about this. Let's let Congress fix it. Well, what has Congress been doing, Ann, this entire time? And listen, there's plenty of ire against the president on this as well, and I want to amplify parts of that. But what do you make of Paul Ryan jumping up and down today saying, oh, no, this is something Congress needs to handle?
It's preposterous on many levels. For one, the one you mentioned, what on earth have they been doing? The one thing...
And by the way, when Nancy Pelosi's led Democrats who had Congress had a chance to actually solidify DACA as law, even they couldn't get it done with a Democrat majority.
Right, but they're not doing anything. The one thing we actually needed them to do was to pass a law saying there shall be a free market in health insurance, and they couldn't get that done. Having put their little free market heads together for the last 7 years, couldn't pull that one off. But it doesn't make any sense constitutionally for them to do anything. Again, how does a bill become law? It gets passed by both houses of Congress. It gets sent to the president signs it. That's how a bill becomes law. That's not what happened here. If all you needed was a bare majority of the Senate and the president, well, then we wouldn't have needed Reagan wouldn't have needed to do that Iran-Contra thing, sending arms to the Congress, because the Senate agreed and President Reagan agreed, but the House didn't agree, so he couldn't do it through the normal procedures. We would have had tax cuts much sooner under Reagan, under Bush, various times. A bill doesn't become law just because a bill has passed in the Senate if the House never takes it up and it never gets signed by the president. What President Obama did is unconstitutional. You don't then say, oh, well, now Congress has to pass a law. Congress has already acted by not passing the bill.
Right. That's right.
Already acted.
That's right. There's nothing to wait for at this point.
And I would add at this point one other little twist here is, after the Emperor God doing absolutely nothing to stop issuing work permits to illegal aliens, utterly, outrageously, unconstitutionally begun under Obama, now continued under President Trump and his spectacular Homeland Security Secretary, General Kelly. Could the president ease off on all the encomiums to General Kelly? Because if Trump isn't responsible for continuing DACA, then General Kelly is.
Well,
in any event, now having not stopped doing something unconstitutional, DACA, for the last 7 months, now would frankly be the worst time for the president. I mean, he can stop printing the work permits, but he should not overturn DACA right now because a court is about to rule on it. And I don't care that there are a lot of that the majority of the federal judiciary was appointed by Democrats at this point. Yeah, okay, maybe you'll get a Hawaiian judge in there, but I promise you will not get the Supreme Court to say, oh, no, you don't need the Congress to pass a law.
Oh, yeah. Whoever's president can just go ahead and do this and not do this. And absolutely, that's what the Constitution, that's what the framers were.
Say that. No Supreme Court would give a president that kind of power.
So let me get this straight.
Now, 5 days away from a court taking this up is absolutely the worst time for him to overturn it.
So you'd rather the president do nothing on DACA since he hasn't done anything since day one, which is what he was supposed to. You'd rather him step back and let the courts make this decision to solidify it into law.
And let Jeff Sessions argue that it's unconstitutional. Not that it matters what anybody argues, because, again, a 4-year-old watching a Saturday morning cartoon knows that this is unconstitutional. I would like the president to stop issuing thousands of work permits to illegal aliens, because I think a big part of his campaign was bringing jobs back and caring about the American people first and not caring about foreigners first.
Can you break down your book? Adios America is so well researched and footnoted, and just every single thing is backed up with the facts and with the law and just irrefutable arguments. Could you please explain or let the listeners hear right now the rebuttal to what we're hearing so much in the mainstream media and from Democrats and sadly a good chunk of Republicans, which is, listen, these are just kids. These are just kids who were brought here, and they're all, maybe they're in high school right now, but they've learned English and they've been on the straight and narrow. These are the dreamers, Ann. They're just a bunch of kids. Why do you want to be so mean to kids?
No, I know. I heard the same thing about Bernie Madoff's kids. They didn't do anything. Why should they suffer? He told them he had lots of money and they'd have money to go to college and buy big houses. They're just the innocent children, Larry. No, I'm sorry. When your parents break the law, there are consequences. Sorry, you don't get to live in the mansion. You don't get all those ill-gotten gains. It doesn't make a difference. Life sucks when your parents can break laws.
And also, by the way, isn't it true?
Well, they're not children.
Yeah, they're not children.
That's what you're getting at. The average age is 45.
Right. Well, it's a little younger than that, but it is. It's up to 36. I think is the upper threshold right now.
Back when, and this is a nice little part of Adios America. I won't be able to remember the exact numbers, but when Reagan was fooled by the Democrats into giving amnesty to what was supposed to be 2.5 million illegal aliens back in the 80s in exchange for aggressive employer sanctions for hiring an illegal and increased border security. Guess which one we got and which one we didn't?
Yeah.
Guess. Which should we
I'm guessing.
Book away to any of your callers who know that. In any event, it was supposed to be about 2.5 million illegal aliens. Chuck Schumer slipped in a provision that is similar to much of what we're hearing about today, that for long-time agricultural workers, if you could prove that you worked on a farm for, 8 of the last 16 months, something like that, you could get amnesty. Because, you've done all this work, you've been helping American farmers, and, it's only going to be, it'll be 10,000, a few 100,000. Okay, 3 million get in that way. They determined that I think it was 88% of the applications were fraudulent. The people applying for guest worker amnesties were applying from the rich, fertile farmland of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Claiming that cotton was purple and they picked cherries from the ground.
Right, but they signed their name under penalty of perjury, and they wouldn't want to suffer the consequences of that.
90% of them were approved.
Yeah, there you go.
That's just what they do. Now, what's harder to prove? That you worked on a farm or that you were brought here illegally and lived in the shadows before age 18? Which one is harder to prove?
Yeah.
So, the DACA amnesty is basically amnesty for anyone who claims, oh, no, my parents brought me here before I was, 16,
right.
whatever it is.
And they can be 35. They can be 40. They can be...
Right.
And can you stay with us for one more second? Because I've got more to talk to you about.
Yes, I
And you have more to say. All right. Because we're told that this is just a bargaining chip, that he's going to give away DACA. Okay, we'll go ahead and have DACA as long as you give us the wall. I want to ask Ann about that and also the push for tax reform, all that coming up as we continue our education on how we get laws passed in America.
And I love these kids. I love kids. I have kids and grandkids. And I find it very, very hard doing what the law says exactly to do. And, the law is rough. I'm not talking about new laws. I'm talking the existing law is very rough. It's very, very rough.
Very rough. I have kids, too, by the way. I don't shoot my position on immigration policy through the prism of whether I have children or not. We should have seen it coming. And Coulter, author of Adios America, that was the president earlier this year talking about DACA. What do you make of this argument that I'm hearing from some conservative pundits saying, he's playing 4D chess here. This is all a negotiation tactic. See, he's going to go ahead and he's going to relent on DACA in exchange for Democrats and Republicans funding the wall.
Very little has surprised me about the Trump presidency, and in fact, all of the things that completely trigger the media, I find sort of fun and amusing and very likable about the president, like his incessant tweeting and his relentless attacks on the press, especially the juvenile ones. I like those the most. So all of the normal things that you're supposed to be upset with Trump for really don't bother me at all. I'm obviously a little annoyed that he hasn't done anything on the wall or DACA yet, as he had promised, and he seems to just be being led around by the nose by the Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, what we can refer to in shorthand as the loser wing of the Republican Party. The one thing that I will say has surprised me is, boy, this guy's a bad negotiator.
Yeah.
I mean, that was supposed to be one thing. No, that he's good at.
It's all supposed to be art of the deal, right? Yeah.
Wow, he's bad. So he's, in exchange for something he does not need congressional approval for, defending America's borders,
Right.
He's going to continue an unconstitutional policy that everyone agrees is unconstitutional, and Republicans have just won two election cycles by promising to stop.
And Congress's approval rating is 8%, while the president's, although low, is still well over 30%, and his base is solid with him. You'd think he'd have the upper hand in this one.
And I think the most important point that no one, including the commander-in-chief himself, seems to grasp is the Constitution does make him, again, the commander-in-chief. That means it's his job, with or without Congress, passing any laws at all to defend America's borders. So he, in his little constitutional hands, has all the power he needs to build a wall on the border. Both political parties, Congress, the president, bureaucrats, all of Washington, seems to understand that the president, the commander-in-chief, has authority to build walls in, places like Syria.
Yes.
But they can't grasp that the commander-in-chief's job, according to the Constitution, is to defend America's borders. The military has been used frequently to build forts, to build bridges, to build fortresses,
levees,
to build walls on our borders. That's his job. So it kind of looks like it's hard to imagine why he's doing this other than to lay the groundwork for a big sellout on the wall so that he can turn around and blame Congress. Well, I tried, but they wouldn't give me the money. No, you're the president. You have all the authority you need. They can't even pass a law stopping him from doing it. It's his job.
I wish I had more time, and I always have a list of things I want to continue talking with you about, but I'm out. Thank you so much, though.
Day weekend.
You too, as always. The book, Adios America. Read it so you can remember what this was all about at the